Coming up on Man Enough.
The danger of the one, you know?
Yeah.
And believing that there's one person for you, growing up with Disney movies and rom-coms and, you know, that whole lightning in the bottle. And if that's not there, then you can't build anything sustainable. With Vanessa and I, we met each other on a blind date, and it was rocky. You know, I was married, divorced, and I never been single for a long time. So I wanted debauchery. I wanted to wake up with someone I didn't like. I wanted to like do drugs and have threesomes and all the stories that we hear about. And I didn't get far and so when I met Vanessa,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was like DMing and shit. I was trying to get in somewhere.
Being man enough, what does that mean?
It's really manly to mess up, admit you're wrong, and then grow.
I couldn't accept that I was evil. So maybe I'm broken, but those broken things could be corrected.
Intimacy between a father and a son is me just wanting to like put my head in your lap.
I love you, son.
You haven't called me benevolent sexist, but my experience is women are better.
Even if it's a positive, it's still not equality.
I don't blame men for that. I just blame the system.
This
Is
Man enough. Hello. I think this is my first time opening an episode.
oh my goodness.
You're gonna be so good.
I graduated. Hello, and welcome to Man Enough. My name is Liz Plank.
I'm Jamie Heath.
And I'm Andy Grammer / Justin Baldoni.
You are filling in. You're still here.
I'm hanging
Still
in.
here.
You haven't run away yet. We
Can't get
haven't.
rid of me.
Yeah.
I have to just say, I've said it before, I miss you, Justin. Andy is no match for
Guys,
you.
listen, there's plenty of room when you get back here, Justin. We'll make room for you. I'll still be here, but we'll just scoot over a little bit.
It's been great having you, Andy. You have brought an amazing perspective. Of course, Justin brings everything that he does. But your spirit and what you bring, and you care so much about these topics, it's been great. So, and we're all here really for Liz. Liz, you're really the one that keeps us moving.
Okay.
You are indeed.
No pressure. Thank you for saying that. I am here for you. Whatever. Okay, we're all here for each other. We all love each other. It's very clear.
What are we doing here today?
What are we doing? Okay, well, one of the things that I've been talking about this season is how I'm only taking advice from married men now, or married people. Not only, but I'm trying to lean into that in terms of getting dating advice. And we kind of have a really on-brand episode then, because we have an amazing married couple here with us. And they're not just married, they're both therapists. We have John Kim and Vanessa Bennett.
I can't wait
and
to
we're
hear
talking
about
about them like they're not here.
Yeah,
And
they're
they're right here.
Hey.
So we were waiting for the right time to tell you that we're not married.
You're not married.
She said we're only taking advice from Mary. I was like, that's not good.
Yeah, I love starting the show with the twist.
Yeah, that was a twist.
Well, also, we're not therapists.
That's
we are
a joke. We
therapists.
actually are
Right.
Of course you are.
But you live together. You wrote a book together, but you're
Yes.
not
We have
married.
a baby together. We have a house together.
Oh,
but
I
we're
got
not
you.
married.
Okay,
Oh, well,
but
that's-
you're partners.
We're partners.
Everyone assumes we are, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I was married once, and
was
we're not
engaged.
opposed to it. We're
Yeah.
we're just not.
Just not.
Yeah.
Well, let's at least introduce who you are for our
Yes.
listeners.
Yes, so we are joined by John Kim, who is also known as the Angry Therapist. He's a writer, a speaker, a life coach, and the co-founder of the Tat Lab. And Vanessa Bennett, who is not his wife, his partner, is her own woman. She is an author as well. She's a holistic psychotherapist and a codependency expert. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions for you. Her therapeutic approach integrates years of study and practice in depth of Buddhism and yoga psychology. We are really excited that you're here joining us because you wrote a book. You co-wrote a book called It's Not Me, It's You, that's full of ideas that we're really excited to dig into. And we had like a 20-minute long conversation just about the title of the book because it's counterintuitive. We would think the two therapists would be like, oh no, it's me, it's not you.
It was kind of like a pithy way of basically talking about this is what most people come to therapy saying.
Got it.
Is
That's
fix
what I
my
thought.
partner, change them, something's wrong with them.
That's right.
It's not me,
You're
it's
the problem.
them, right? And the point of the book, really, actually, the whole crux is taking personal responsibility. It's about what can you own.
You
And
didn't
so
get
it was
that?
kind of our funny way
I
of
did. I was just
poking at
I think you
that.
got that figured out. How long you been married? I mean, it was real clear. That's exactly what I said.
I was like, here's a book I can finally get into because this chick is crazy. Okay.
So we start every episode by asking one question to all of our guests. When is the last time that you didn't feel enough?
So I think in pictures, and so I'm just gonna shoot you a montage. 10 years old, gluing the wheels of the model car to the wheel well because I couldn't figure out how to put the axles on so the car didn't roll. And there I stamped myself, not smart enough. Principal's office calls me down because my SAT scores were too low, and I wonder if he would have done that if I wasn't Asian. And in that moment, I thought, I'm not smart enough. College fraternity, keeping my underwear on during the showers after a hell week because everyone else had baby arms. And I thought I had a small penis and it wasn't enough because I was a grower. Yeah, and then I think today, God, what do I see today as being enough? Recently, today I'm better. Today I stop myself. Today, when I see myself stamping myself with something, I take a pause and I question it, and I wonder where that's coming from, and if that is something that is true or something that has been manufactured by, or something that's kind of baked in by society. So, yeah.
So, the last time I felt enough or not enough?
Not enough.
I don't know, an hour ago. I mean, half joking, but not. It's a through line. It shows up all the time. I mean, I've gotten a lot better. You know what you were saying about questioning it, and is that true? Whose voice is that really? But I think it's a struggle. I think it's a daily struggle. I think it can be a minute by minute struggle. And if I'm not careful, it will dictate everything in my life. It'll dictate how I show up. It'll dictate how I engage with people. It'll dictate who I engage with. Everything. And it did, I think, for a long time growing up and in my early 20s. And so I just have to be careful because I feel like it's kind of my shadow. It just kind of follows me around. And so I have to have a very intimate relationship with it to make sure that it's not like leading the show.
Beautiful. We certainly want to center our conversation not just on therapy.
Sure.
Obviously, that matters.
Yep.
How does it pertain to masculinity?
Yeah.
Right? Our show is called Man Enough, and we want to redefine what that is. And we know that therapy, I believe, and relationships and how we walk through the world plays a big part in that. So this is maybe where you can be helpful, that you can help us make that cross, you can make that connection. What do you got, Liz?
I mean, I think so much of the sort of culture that we're in right now, this like red flag culture, right, is on the face of it a great thing that we're talking more about mental health. We're talking more about what to look for on a date, what to, to sort of have those deeper conversations. But in that is this, I got to figure out exactly who you are and figure out what's wrong with you. And do you know what's wrong with you before I, let myself be vulnerable with you, as opposed to I have to be vulnerable with you in order to get to know you. Can you sort of talk about that? I think it's, it speaks to a lot of the topics that we've been talking about this season, which is sort of more isolation of men, and I think isolation of women, right? I mean, if you take straight men are isolating, then the straight women who want to partner with them are also not in connection with men that they want. So how is that almost over-indexing the conversation around mental health actually making us less emotionally capable or emotionally intelligent?
I've been thinking a lot about how vulnerability has to go hand in hand with discernment. Yeah. So you can't just like walk around being vulnerable all the time to everybody, right? Like I'm not going to go on a date with somebody that I meet on Tinder and be vulnerable the first or second date, or maybe even the 10th date, to be quite honest. Right. So what I think, because I'm a big believer in how as a culture, as a society, as a people, we tend to pendulum swing a lot, right? It's how we learn, even internally, personally on my journey, I swing. Like I might not have any boundaries, and then once I learn to set boundaries, I'm like punching people in the face with walls. And what I talk to clients about is like, that's okay. That's actually normal, because what you're doing is you're embodying the feeling of both extremes so that you can then work your way into the middle and you'll know what that feels like, right? And so I think it's similar to this. I actually think right now we've swung the pendulum a little bit into the discernment, almost to the point that it's on like that far side. And now, because we were all about vulnerability, like 15 years ago, like Brene Brown, it was like the hot topic. that's where I feel like we're getting there, but we needed to shift before we can kind of find our way back to integrate those two a little bit better.
Yeah, we talk about the danger of the one,
Yeah.
and believing that there's one person for you. Growing up with Disney movies and rom-coms, and that whole lightning in the bottle, and if that's not there, then you can't build anything sustainable. And so with Vanessa and I, we met each other on a blind date, and it was rocky. The hairs on our neck did not go up. We didn't feel lightning. I was ambivalent. I was trying to be single on purpose. I was married, divorced, and I never been single for a long time. So I wanted debauchery. I wanted to wake up with someone I didn't like. I wanted to do drugs and have threesomes and all the stories that we hear about. And I didn't get far and so when I met Vanessa,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was like DMing and shit. I was trying to get in somewhere, and then this guy comes up to me at the gym and said, "Hey, John, do you like white girls?" And I was like, "Dude, it's 2000. Like, what do you? I like all girls." He's like, "I have a therapist for you." And it's like, "I don't just date therapists." And it was a friend of hers. And then when we met, there was a lot of resistance. She didn't feel chosen.
Wow.
And so our relationship, we're 5 years in, it was bumpy, and it wasn't the fairy tale that the whole one. And so I had to learn that the one is the one in front of you, and that's it.
That you're choosing right now, right?
But you start to wonder if you're not with the one, and I think that's when it gets dangerous.
Well,
right?
I think that, especially in dating, I think this misconception or this idea that we have of the one can actually be like an eject button for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, all of it, like you were saying, red flags. All these boxes aren't checked. All the lightning in a bottle is not matching up. So clearly you're not the one. Eject, rather than push forward, be a little vulnerable, get to know somebody, right? And see what's really on the other side of this human, right?
Yeah.
These two humans. And I think that, we pushed to the other side, but it wasn't without struggle, for sure.
Yeah, swimming past the breakers, we call it.
Yeah.
Swinging past the breakers?
Yeah,
Swimming.
swinging past the breakers. Not like the light switch breakers in your house, but
breakers in the ocean.
Wow.
So the waves. The ocean is calm, right? The waves, the people surf on. That's where it's rocky, and when you bring not only yourself, but we were talking about this the other day, bringing your family, your wiring, what you're used to, how you're raised, you're bringing all that to the table.
Your generational trauma, everything you're bringing to the table.
Baggage.
And to swim past that, to work through it, then there's calm on the other side. And I think many people, because we coach a lot of couples, they don't swim past that.
Yeah, they never get there.
They start looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Well, let's jump in that question. It's not you. It's me. Or it's me. It's not me. It's you. Damn it. Why? Tell us about that.
We wanted to focus not only on the content of the book, but as two therapists, humanizing ourselves. So instead of coming at you, we want to come with you. And I think especially with self-betterment, there's a crust, and there's a lot of people with megaphones on top of behind podiums. And so in order for this book to be something that will create a bridge, we said we have to talk about our own issues, and let's do it in a fun way. And so I just thought, pointing the finger is kind of a good fun way into something more serious. And it's blame. It's one of the things that we talk about is trying to understand before trying to be understood, right? Things like that. And so we wanted to start off kind of fun and light, and then go deep, which is kind of what you guys do on the show. Yeah, you guys go real deep, real fast, right?
Yeah. I also think, too, it was really important for us to make sure that we pulled the curtain back, like you said, about talking about our issues, but on being a therapist. There's like this misconception, right, that therapists have their shit together.
Totally.
And I think also in like kind of the more older, more patriarchal way of doing therapy, it's like you got Freud and then somebody's on a couch and you're a blank slate and you're not a human and you're the expert, which is why when you said codependency expert, I was like, I kind of cringe now because I used to have that on my site, and I think recently took it down because I'm like struggling with this term expert, because what does that even mean,
Vanessa definitely doesn't have her shit together at all. She's broken with issues.
Well, I actually trust people more that are broken.
Yeah, right? It's like, even as therapists, I mean, I don't know your life better than you know your life. You're the expert on your life. All I'm here to do is essentially like shine a light and potentially walk beside you, but I don't know your life.
To help facilitate.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
more of a facilitator.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
And do you have anything, or are you just going to
just trying
soak
to
it all in?
I'm asking. What I want to ask is, actually, I'm thinking through. Like, I don't know if you're allowed to share any of the things that you hear. Are you allowed to share trends that you see?
Sure.
Like,
You mean like dating trends?
no, like trends of. You guys do a lot of couples therapy.
Yeah.
Yes.
From the male perspective, what are the trends that guys are working on?
Great question.
I think men sometimes go to therapy not for them, but because they have to, or something's at stake.
That's
and
right.
that never works, right?
Doesn't.
Or they're doing it as a favor to their partner. And then when they're in the room, they will try to manipulate the therapist to get him or her on his side. You know,
You find that's more than the women.
yeah, because I
I
think
mean, I would agree.
Okay.
yeah, it's a generalization, but I do agree, because we still don't have buy-in from men embracing being proud of, I don't know if the word's proud, but like, hey, therapy is something, like in the locker room.
Championing it.
In the
Yeah,
locker
yeah.
room,
Yeah.
you know, after, you know, doing
How was
some
your
clean and
therapy
jerks.
session?
Right. No, you don't see guys chest bumping
It's
each other.
starting
and
to
saying, like, hey.
generationally, like the younger generation, but definitely to your point, it's not like mainstream
Yeah,
yet.
we're not there yet. So in couples, usually they're there because they have to be or something.
Yeah. Like she's giving him an ultimatum.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Tough
People
place
reaching
to
out.
start.
It's real. It's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I, for the first time, got into therapy almost 2 years ago now. The pandemic, but I had to be like beaten to a pulp.
Yeah.
To be
Well,
like,
I would
I
say
had
that
to
that's
be
the thing. Most men
all the way
have to be beaten to a
destroyed,
pulp. Yeah.
like on the floor, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the only way I was going in because
Right.
I don't know why. I guess stigma.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess-
you're less of a
Admitting
man.
But if you'd
than
asked
you-
me, like, do you think you should do therapy? I'd be like, totally,
Yeah.
I should do therapy. But I didn't.
Right.
So then I had to be like
Right.
destroyed before I could go in.
Right.
But do you talk to your guy friends about therapy?
I do.
Oh, maybe you
Yeah.
do. I mean, like Justin is very open about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. And
That's rare. I don't know.
It is
about- yeah.
extremely rare. You know, for me, what I appreciate about what you guys are doing, and just like this topic, I think that men in general, obviously, as you're saying, don't do this. For me in my life, I won't go through the whole thing, but why I love it so much is when my life finally started changing and turning around and giving to my community, and I say my community like all around, is when I finally decided I have some broken parts. Doesn't mean I'm broken as a person, like dispose of me.
Right.
But I have some stuff.
Right.
I have trauma when I was a kid. When we're young, we don't always discuss everything, especially boys. Then we with our little brains, we put the pieces together. We don't always put them together correctly.
Right.
And then we start living that way. I got married at 18, ended up leaving that marriage when I was just shy of 22.
Yeah.
Blamed her. It was all her.
Yeah,
That's why I love your title. It's not me, it's you.
Right.
Took that into my next relationships because I didn't do it because it was all her.
Yeah.
Even though my dad told me to spend 100% of my time on the 10% that maybe I did wrong.
Right.
Oh,
He was
good.
like,
Good
it's
on
probably,
your dad.
he's like, you're probably 50% of it,
Yeah.
if not 80%. But even if you think you're only 10%, spend 100% of your time on that 10.
Love that.
Then I got married again, blew up that marriage. I was married 7 years due to a lot of trauma in my life prior, not due to my own choices.
Yeah.
But in order to fix it and be better, I had to deal with stuff in my life. And I couldn't do it alone. I had
Wait,
some
how old were you at this point? The second.
30, I got married at 31.
Okay, you're still
30
young. Still
I'm
pretty
52 now, right? So 37, 38.
Right.
Here I am, unfaithful. I didn't change my life until I actually was in therapy.
Yeah.
Started going to 12-step programs, which is also a form of therapy. It didn't necessarily just have to be like you go see a therapist, right? Even though that's one
want a lot
form
of
of it.
support.
But really what it is that you have support
Yeah.
and discussing, and not as a man thinking I got to figure this out and I'm weak if I admit it. So I do believe that therapy, of course, women, I always say that I think women are doing some things better than men. I think often maybe because women talk about stuff more than men do. As we're examining masculinity, how important it is for men to embrace this so that we can be better humans, we can be better in our lives, we can have better relations with our children. And, so I'm grateful that you guys have committed your lives to this. What say you to anything I said other than like,
I was
oh
gonna
shit,
say-
you've been married 3 times and you're old?
No, that's not what I was thinking at all. I was thinking what a lovely trajectory actually that is, because I was thinking how sad it is that, it's not a biological thing that women talk about things more, right? We've socialized boys to not talk. We've socialized
You don't
boys.
think it's biological at all?
No.
Not a little bit.
No, I don't. I don't actually. I'd love to see the research that proves me wrong, but I don't. I think I would say 99%. I won't say 100. is how boys are socialized, and to be cut off from their emotional self, to be cut off from their feminine, to be cut off from themselves, which you need that in order to actually verbalize what's going on for you in an emotional way, right? And women, it's the opposite. We're praised, we're pushed towards that. I shouldn't say 0% biology, only because as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about friends of mine who have little ones, toddlers, and noticing how little boys are more physical in the way that they take in their environment. So like toddler boys are like, they're jumping off things, or throwing things, or pushing each other. And girls tend to be a little bit more like they watch, they observe, they talk. So there is some biology to it, but I would venture to say it's way smaller than I think we think it is. I would say it's a lot more on the socializing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And there's a lot of data that shows that, until the age of 7 or 8, boys and girls are
their brains are identical, basically.
They're identical, and their behaviors are very similar in the sense of boys actually have like deeper friendships and more friends than girls. But then something happens, right, as they go into teenagehood.
Which, by the way, not to interrupt you, is exactly about the same time they say girls start to have body image issues, 6, 7 years old.
Yes.
There's something about that age where all of the shit, the programming they've been hearing, there's a click that happens in both genders, where boys start to lose that, lose touch with their emotion, whatever, and then girls start to have a lot of these like image issues. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I know for me, it was like what has been really helpful with therapy is like attacking the all or nothing thinking.
Yes,
which is what stopped me from getting into it to begin with.
Right.
Which doesn't even like reach my brain. It's just somewhere deep inside, which is I'm either good or I'm bad.
Oh, sound like me.
And right now, at least no one else knows that I'm bad. So let's just keep this thing going. Right. You know what I mean? Until for me, the pandemic just rocked me. I'm like, all right, I'm bad. Something is bad. I'm not all bad, but something here is bad. Let's like get into therapy. And that's been really helpful.
Yeah. And codependency is because someone treated me bad, I'm bad, right? That was a big and still a learning for me to separate the way that, again, it's being tethered to yourself and connected to yourself and who you are, right? You don't cause another person's behavior, you experience another person's behavior. And I think unlocking codependency is like, that's why I'm like, oh my God, I have so many questions, because I think it's and for people who are listening who can't afford therapy, because that's most Americans, frankly, and people around the world, is there are 12-step programs for codependency. Coda, even Al-Anon, is just a 12-step program for people who are related to alcoholics or in relationship with alcoholics. All of that is free, group therapy that gives you access to that.
I would say though too, don't go to Al-Anon only if you've got somebody in your life that's got a drug or alcohol problem.
Exactly.
We're all codependent.
Yes.
So we could all stand to go to Al-Anon.
100%.
Just my belief.
Yes.
Vanessa has a really great definition. It's so simple and so potent on codependency. But I just want to say real quick before, whenever I talk about men stuff, as we were talking about men not going to couples or blaming and all that kind of stuff, it's interesting because I have one foot into because of therapists and my character arc, and I love sensitive men. I love men who are vulnerable. And then I have my other foot in motorcycles, CrossFit, in the locker room. So I know those dudes too, right? And it's a little oil and water, but whenever we talk about what men aren't doing, there's a protective side of me that wants to stick up for these men. Because
tell us.
Because I feel like there's a lot of men right now who are trying, but maybe they're not going to therapy, but they are scared, or they're dealing with things and they don't have the practice or the tracks to express themselves. Those muscles are weak. Maybe they were raised by an iron fist or whatever. And so it's easy to point fingers and say, well, you're not vulnerable, you don't go to therapy, whatever. But I think it could be a blanket statement. I just want to be careful because the world that we live in today, it's so like this or that, right? It's so the cancel culture thing,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so
we
I
had
don't know.
a thought on one of the earlier podcasts that has stayed with me, which is that I just think I have immense faith in men.
So do I.
Yeah.
Like immense.
Yeah.
So do
I'm a man. I feel cool. I know what I'm capable of. And even if we're lacking in a certain area right now, in many areas, the current world, men are, I think, underperforming in many areas. But that doesn't mean that we can't get better at it and do it better. And this is a situation that we're in. we had somebody on that was talking about how if you look at like college enrollment and you look at valedictorians, that men are like dragging in a lot of areas. And I just think that the way that men respond over a long period of time, I'm very excited for what the new man that responds to this difficulty becomes.
Yeah.
And I would second what you're saying, which is I know a lot of men that are really trying, and I love these men.
Yeah.
I think all men right now need a hand, not a finger.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Agreed.
I love that.
And you're doing that
Yeah.
in terms of changing the way that you approach therapy, right? I mean, we had Esther Perel talk about how therapy is feminized, and again, whatever feminine means, where you go into an office and there's a little Kleenex box and a little couch, and you're staring straight at this, very often a woman, because most therapists are women, and men. In my book, I talk about how like it could be therapy packs, right? Like almost like a workout pack, because a lot of men don't want to go into therapy because they think I'm going to be there forever. Whereas if you're like, okay, here's a 10-pack on body image. And we're going to, talk about body image. It's going to cost you this amount of money and it'll be over after 10. And again, side to side therapy. And anyway, you roll up with a motorcycle to some of these therapy sessions. I wonder if you can talk about how differently we can approach therapy for men.
My whole story started with the divorce. I was 35, broke, divorced, had nothing. And in therapy school, it was, first of all, no minorities. No men, mostly middle-aged women and me, and I felt very alone. And then when I became a therapist, I thought the dream was to kind of be like Dr. Drew, right? The wrinkle-free pants and the coffee and the nondescript office, the silver balls. And he does a lot more than that. But I grew up listening to Loveline. That was always. And then when I started doing that, I was like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. I want t-shirt, jeans. And so I called myself a coach because I started doing things that therapists weren't supposed to do. I started on Tumblr blogging. I called myself the therapist because I was angry, because I was miserable. And I said, hey, meet me at the park.
Yeah.
There was a lake in Silver Lake here in Los Angeles, and it's 50 minutes exactly. I said, meet me at the lake. And so I started making house calls. I started driving my house. And I noticed that people loved it. And the lake thing, they were like, wow, you're going to just sit and we're going to walk and talk? This is so weird. And I was like, yeah. And it's like, casual over clinical works. And you know what? And then social media started growing, and I was like, people are more interested in who you are instead of the letters after your name.
That's right.
And that's when I was like, you know what? When I'm doing the clinical stuff the way that you should do, what I was taught in therapy school, I felt like Clark Kent pushing a mail cart. And then when I started to do these other things like social media, meet me at the coffee shop, and I'll roll up, on my bike, I felt like I had a cape. And so I just started listening to that. And I was still broke, and I still listening to that, and then what evolved was, the stuff that I'm doing now. So it was,
wow.
Yeah, it was really good.
So that's one of the ways you are actually reaching men, maybe in a different way than another, because of that.
Yeah, because I don't think men will meet you in the therapy room, or
Not always.
not
I agree.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
generalizing.
but they'll meet you at the CrossFit box, or they'll do. If I said, Jamie, let's go for a walk around the
100%.
lake
Yeah.
and just shoot the shit, that may be more attractive than. Meet me in Suite 212.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like you said,
Make
with
sure
sushi
I validate your
box.
parking, and then And
That makes so much sense. I've done
Yeah.
that myself because I've been very vocal about my life and screwing up and how I had to put myself back together in the work that I had done. I can't list how many people have reached out to me to say, oh, can we talk about some stuff I'm going through?
Sure.
You had said you went through it. And we end up just going to coffee, come to the house, go swimming, do whatever it is. And we're having, I'm no therapist, but we're having conversations, and they are getting some sort of therapy
You're
that
no-
they wouldn't have
Right.
had.
Yeah.
You're not
Otherwise.
a therapist, but that process is very therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have come and actually seen somebody. So
Right.
I love that you do it that way. Now, can I just follow up with one thing?
Yes.
You had said that men, and you co-signed on this, and I love that we champion men.
Yeah.
And then I also have a thought. So I have kids, and I love my kids unconditionally. But if my kid keeps making the same mistake over and over and over, going over again, at some point I say, we got to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I love you, and I can validate all these things about you, but we have to deal with this because this is hurting your life, and it's hurting others, and we need to process this. So I feel sometimes we can coddle too much, and I think, and I'm really interested in what you say about this because you're actually reaching people. But I'm sensitive to the idea that, like when we deal with sexism, like I don't have space for men to be like, yeah, but it's, like, okay, we need to show up better. I feel you, understand you've got some stuff to work through, and I'll meet you there. But enough already. We need to step up and be better in our actions towards liberating women. When it comes to racism and there's white fragility, and I understand it. I get that you're not there yet, but you got to fucking get there now because there are people dying. Right? Yeah. There are people dying while you're saying, so I get it, but men, I think, we have to hold each other as men.
Sure, accountable.
A bit more accountable. And with a little bit more of like, I got you, I know that you're like slacking up, Andy, but it's time to show up now.
Yeah.
How do we do that while also having grace?
Thank you for bringing,
Yeah,
really
can you
good
answer
point.
him? Because I need to buy some time.
Well, you know what, here, look, I think this is an interesting way. We'll get vulnerable. We actually, a couple weeks ago, we had a little bit of, wasn't an argument, but we definitely had a little heated exchange where there was that article going around within the kind of therapy world that was a synopsis of a greater research study that was saying 62% of people on dating apps are men, right? And the article was called The Rise of Lonely Single Men. And so I brought it to John and I was like, this is really interesting. I've seen a few therapists now, like my kind of Instagram therapists that have talked about it. It's kind of gotten, it's getting traction. And then I was telling him, I said something about, there's this other research that I've seen that shows that men live longer when they're in partnership, and women actually do not. Women are shown to live shorter.
I've learned that from you.
Yep. And granted, now the research I don't think talks about whether it's a good or bad relationship, but the bottom line is, again, society, men do tend to live longer partnered. Women actually tend to be happier when they're single. And they tend to live longer when they're single.
You're gonna deal with our shit.
Well, we're not taking care of somebody else other than ourselves, right? And potentially our children.
Yes.
Right? And so I was bringing this up, and John got upset.
I got upset because what I took away from that, and I know that's not what she meant, was you need us.
No, opposite. Oh, yeah, meaning men. Yeah, so
women,
basically he said, so you're saying that men need women don't need men. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm just talking about the research. And I kind of was like, I was just giving you facts. Right. And then later on that day, there was a little bit of a tiff, and he said something, and I kind of looked at him and I went, are you all men, not all menning me right now? And it kind of got a little heated because I think, to his point, he can get a little, for good reason, like, I want to defend these men that I know are good men.
It's the protection of these guys that can't be, and I agree with what you're saying. You got to make people accountable.
And yet I'm with you on the, like, at what point do we just say, as a white person, I am fully capable of saying sometimes white people are the fucking problems. Like, step up and be better, do better, be an ally, get out there, do your work. I have very low tolerance for white fragility. And I feel similar when it comes to the conversation around men and women. Like, if you were really established in your sense of self, you would say, I know not all men, but I'm an ally and I'm out here. So I don't know. I agree with both, right? It's like a really hard conversation.
I posted a while ago, non-negotiable, no beige underwear, right?
As part of a longer post.
But it's basically my opinion on women wearing beige underwear, right? Holy shit. So I don't read a lot of my comments. I got all these calls that are like, dude, you're about to get canceled.
Yeah.
And I went, and there were hundreds of furious women saying, you don't tell me what kind of and I got it. It was a post that I copied and pasted from like 5 years ago, which got just a lot of laughs, right?
Okay.
And so the temperature right now is you can't say things. And I understood. And I was like, I get it now. Yeah, you're right. Once I say you should as a man, you're done, right? So I get it. That, even though it's my opinion, I can't tell any woman what kind of underwear is sexy or not sexy, or what to wear or what not to wear. And the reason I'm sharing their story is because I just think there's as a therapist and someone that's championing men, I also got schooled, and it was just a simple post about beige underwear, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if that's me and I got 300 people throwing eggs at me, God, what some of these other men who may have done things like this without thinking, or maybe are not there yet emotionally, are getting their legs chopped off, and so I felt
there's no room for grace. I think there's
no grace, compassion. There's no emotional speed bump. It is 0 to 60. Like, you're either in or you're, it's like you're God or you're the devil. It's super fast right now.
I hear that.
I also think that just hearing you tell that story, the word men, just saying men, if it was like currently men, right? Like, is there a way to acknowledge that right now it is not working?
Yeah.
As opposed to blanket true statement forever, that like women don't need men.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're not at our highest thing right now.
Right.
I mean, but the thing is also
It's not our best.
Yeah, and she didn't say women didn't need men. That's not what you said.
But also for the longest time, like women needed men, and this is the part that's like we want to have compassion for everybody. We want to, but it's also there is a power dynamic, and a one that's been around for a very long time. And we were talking about this in another episode. To me, it's just like. Women had to be liked by men. That's why we wear beige underwear, by the way. It's for you because the beige underwear allows us to not show our underwear under certain clothes. Like that's why we wear.
Right. There's a reason for it.
Which is the funny part of that. But I think that women always had to be liked by men, and so we figured you out. We know everything about what you like, and we cater to what you like. Our entire society caters to male, a taste in many ways. Yeah. And for once now, men have to be likable. Like men have to be liked because
show up
women,
with something.
Like a lot of women, not all women, #, but women don't need men in the same way. And so it's, and I wish that, I feel like men, and tell me if I'm, like this, bat it out, but men respond well to like self-discipline. Self-discipline is one of the core, I think, characteristics of divine masculinity, of what's sacred in masculinity. And I think that when that self-discipline comes from us, or when that request for self-discipline comes from a woman, you don't necessarily want to hear it as well. And when it comes from a guy, that's different. And I think that that's what I would like more men to be doing, because it doesn't even work when we do it. Right, like so and also it's more labor, more of our life being chopped off because we're trying to discipline someone who maybe it needs to be self-disciplined on their own. And so I guess I would like to see that like self-improvement, right? There's so many books about self-improvement for men, to have a certain body, to earn a certain income, and it's like why not that kind of rigor when it comes to being a great partner and being someone that women love and like.
We don't put weight on that. We put weight on the scoreboard and money and power and what you drive. And that's why I think it's important to have conversations in locker rooms, be the Trojan horse. And when you're riding with your motorcycle friends, hey, what's going on, as in like what's coming up for you, or things that are kind of deeper. How's your relationship with yourself? Yeah. They'd be like, what the fuck you talking about? Yeah. Well, I just noticed, man, you seem kind of down today. Whatever. Like, if we can start having those conversations, then we'll start to put the chips on that, and then I think it's going to be over time. But I think it's going to take men, and you're right, make men accountable. That if you're there and if you've gone through some kind of hero's journey, then you need to lead by example. So if you've gone somewhere and come back and you have some revelations, don't keep that inside. Share it with your friends, your guy friends, and do the walk and talk. And I think that's what creates momentum. And by the way, you just blew my mind when you said women wear beige underwear for you. I had no idea. And I was just thinking,
we know it's
everything.
Oh
shit!
But we do. Yeah, everything we do.
I got chills and I felt like a piece of shit because in that moment I felt so much compassion, even just making eye contact. Like I had, because the whole point of that post was that beige underwear wasn't sexy, which is my judgment and me saying you need to be sexier. And she's like, no, we're doing it for you, so you don't see the. And I was like, oh shit, oh shit. So gosh, I apologize to anyone who.
I love that.
No, you were already apologizing. I mean, you had that.
I didn't know that. Like, But again, man, therapist, 49,
human,
but also ignorance. So when she just told me that, I felt ignorance.
The thing of like, we do everything for you, and the two of you locking eyes and going we get it.
Everything. Yeah.
And witnessing.
Guys, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
We don't. And so to me, I'm like, oh man, it sounds hard and we're in a tough spot, but like, it's a continuum that we're on here. We're all going to be growing. And so this new season of men, we will have to. And that's good. Yeah. This is good news. There's been like you said, like we needed you. We had to like you for these reasons, and now we're in a position where there's a lot of you that don't, and I think that will cause us to change because we really like you. Yeah. And we want you. Yeah. So we need to I guess we've just had like kind of it's been a raw deal.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
You don't believe what?
No, I mean I believe it. I don't disagree with you. I don't think you're.
A raw deal for women. We've been skating.
Yeah.
No. When you say that we like you, so we're gonna have to show up.
Dude,
and we'll arrive.
You don't think we'll show up?
I
You think we're just going to continue down and never
no.
figure it out?
But you know, if we unless we're deliberate about it,
Yeah.
we will. We'll just keep going down. It's like racism for me, right?
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, we're getting better," and I'm like, "Okay, show me. Don't point to me, a president, and say things are better. Let me show you the real life."
Yeah.
Unless you start doing something different, Andy, every day, and I use you as a name, I know you are.
Yeah.
Then it's the same. And don't just tell me we're going to get better one day. In the meantime, we're suffering. Where's the proof? I don't mean with just the good guys.
Yeah.
The good guys aren't going to change everything. It has to be men in general, everybody, holding each other accountable. So I love what you're doing. I love that you're holding grace and space. But for me, if I got a basketball team and I got my best player, and he has all this capacity, but he's not showing up,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, dude, you're my best player. You got to get more rebounds. We're gonna lose until you arrive and be what you were created to be, noble and amazing and wonderful and champion, and then we'll start winning. That's how I'm gonna coach him. I'm not gonna be like, oh, dude, you know what? We're gonna get there one day. No, you are the best player on this team. Damn it, show up. We have to. That's what we have to do with men. Yes, men are wonderful. Well, let's hold it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
So
Jamie, we need both. You know, if we were the Avengers, I would have my gift and you would have yours. So I would be the glove and you would be the hammer, or you know.
All
what I'm
right,
saying?
I love that.
Like we do need both. We need the 48 box of crayons. We don't just go with the primary colors of men, because if everyone is one way, then again that becomes a stereotype, right? So I agree with you. I agree. So I
So yes, and.
it's both.
not oil and water. You know
But
what I'm saying?
I love that point, because I don't know if you relate to this, but in so many of my relationships with men, I stayed for the potential.
Oh,
like
God,
I
yes.
saw it,
Yeah.
and it destroyed me to
he didn't
stay
see it.
when
He
I
didn't see the potential.
he didn't see it, or
Right.
he didn't do it, right?
Right.
And I guess I like that you're admitting that maybe you see it in your guy friends too, that it's not just women
to call it out.
being dissatisfied or women having too high expectations and whatever, right? It's like there are and it comes back to what you're saying too, which is there's so much potential that's just not being reached, right? It's not that men are bad. Men are so good, but they're not reaching their full potential as human beings, and it's hurting everybody.
So that's a great way in. So if Jamie was to come to me and say, hey, this is where you're falling short, you have to quote unquote man up, that would flip the magnet for me, right? I wouldn't return his calls. But if he says to me, dude, I see something in you. I see this potential, and I don't want to waste that potential, and because it's coming from love, I'm gonna push you, man, as a brother. I'm gonna push you in this, and I'm gonna call you out.
Agreed.
I would
You'd
respect
respond to
that.
that.
I would respond to that, and that's why for men it's so hard to hear that from a woman. But if it comes from other men,
Right.
they respond to it, you know. And I think women should also be a part of the conversation, but
We're tired.
Yeah.
you guys are tired.
We
and
want to
we're not
pass the
listening.
baton. We're tired.
Yeah.
And not all men. I know. There's a
Yeah.
lot of us doing good stuff. I mean, Andy, you're an amazing husband and father, and you care about this stuff. You are.
Andy's angry.
And so I was using you as a thing. You really are. You try hard. When I shout out to one of my best friends, Juan, who his wife Akia. I cannot think of a man
He's the best husband ever.
that honors his wife more than this dude does.
Yeah.
And it's apparent all of his friends see it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting emotional, and that's making me emotional.
Yeah, because it's like, God, how do I be like you?
Yeah.
How do other men, because you see as boys that are reflecting how he is so good to her.
Can you imagine?
he loves
can you
her.
imagine? And we play ball, and I say to you, "How did you honor your wife this week?"
Yeah.
I've never even heard that.
Yeah.
You would be like, "What the fuck?" You would laugh at me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he wouldn't, but you.
I wouldn't,
no,
but-
not
but
just
you-
you, but I'm saying.
But
like
you know what? Even the men that you would think that laugh, if you asked that, I think they'd be like, what?
seriously.
Oh. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
How'd
Like,
you
are
offer
you
your
joking?
wife?
What are you talking
You're
about?
And they're
Right.
like, no, tell me one of the ways you offered. I think they'd engage. Because we want to,
think so,
we
too.
do want to be good to your point. We want to show up.
But if you're doing it with ridicule, sorry, I don't mean to cut you
go
off.
Yeah.
I think going back to what John I think is saying, right, is, and this goes with anybody, not just men, women, it doesn't matter. If you approach anybody with shame and ridicule,
Yes.
they get defensive, they
Agreed.
shut down, right? Because shame, you can't learn in shame. You can't integrate when you're in shame, right? And so I do think what we have done, this is a pendulum swing again, this whole idea of like cancel culture. Yeah, women are pissed, women are exhausted, women are over it. Of
course.
You know, for all the amazing things it's done, the feminist movement also taught us that in order to be liked, we had to be more like men. And we're also pissed about that because we don't want to be more like men, right? So there's a lot of like deprogramming that we're doing. And I think there's a lot of rage and anger, which makes sense and is a very normal response. But I think what's happening is because of that, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of blame and finger pointing and all of this stuff. And bottom line, doesn't matter who you are, you don't learn when you're being shamed. So how do we figure out, it's that yes and that we were saying earlier, how do we come and say, okay, I want to hold you accountable, but also do it in a way that isn't shaming,
Right,
that
yeah.
is like you said, I see something in you.
Yeah.
Let's try to foster that, which by the way, that person then has the ability to say, no, thank you. No,
And you
thank
got to be cool with that.
Sure.
You gotta
Right,
be cool
your
with that.
eyes
Yeah,
got
yeah.
big. Somebody has the ability to say no, thank you, and then what do you do with that? Okay,
Right.
it's not my life.
Right.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As the bona fide codependent over here,
Yeah.
that is one of the things about codependency that's really hard. This is Al-Anon 101. If my partner or my child or my parent, let's say there actually is a drug addiction, it is their life. They get to choose, and if their choice is to literally die, I have to work on me and work on like, I can only do so much and then I've got to give it to God. It's not my life.
But I'm sorry.
I know, it's fucking hard.
If I see a person
Yeah.
beating up another person
Yep.
and hurting their body or his body, another person to
Yep.
another person, I'm gonna get the dude off.
Yeah, so am
Yeah.
I.
I'm
So
not
am
gonna.
I.
I'm not gonna say, "Hey
It's
man,
their
this is not
life.
good. Such and such. It's your life." And they would go, "No, thank you." Is if your actions are hurting somebody,
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, "It's time to get off."
Sure,
So if
but-
I'm talking to men and they're like, "No, thank you," but
Yeah.
their actions are hurting society and hurting our life, I'm gonna be like, "Okay, I'm not just gonna back off."
Well, you can say, I won't be friends with you.
Yeah,
right?
but what are you going to do?
And-
you can't
or I won't hang
physically
out
make
with
them
you.
change.
I know it. I haven't figured that
You
part
want
out.
to,
But I
trust
think
me.
that's what would affect them probably, right? If
Right.
it's a friend and you say, well, I'm not going to grab a beer with you every Tuesday.
Yeah,
if,
I
like,
can't
you're
do this
gonna
anymore.
keep whatever.
There's like a tipping point where you go from giving to taking. And so if someone says, hey, I'm not there yet, I don't want your advice. And if you try to continue to do it, now I think you're taking instead of giving. You're now grabbing instead of holding. And so that's when it could turn around and now it could be, without even realizing it, kind of self-centered.
Well, yeah, that's the basis
Even
of
though
a lot
your
of-
heart's in the right place.
A lot of
I
the
hear that.
codependency
Yeah.
work is
I
around that,
appreciate
right?
that.
It's that line.
You.
It's
Yeah.
that line of like, where does it become caretaking versus caregiving?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And one is about me and one is about them.
Wait, say that again.
Okay, so caregiving, like if I'm a caregiver, it's about you, right? I'm doing things for you, most likely that you can't do for yourself or that I just thoroughly enjoy doing because I like making you happy. Caretaking is that when we step over that line and it's actually now about me. Because I like to be in control. I like it when things are going well. I like it when people aren't upset or angry. And so I'm going to control the situation. Like it becomes about me, even though I'm doing good things, air quotes, right? It's actually not about you. Somebody in one of my classes actually coined it. It's the difference between empathy and me-pathy. And I was like, I love that. I'm going to use it.
Really good.
Because there is a line when it tips over and somebody can say, but I do all of these things. But who are you really doing it for? I truly believe we're all codependent. I mean, to a certain extent, we are dependent creatures, right? Like we need other beings to survive. We're social beings. That makes sense. But this idea of codependency, we're raised in a codependent society. I mean, we are led to believe that love is codependency. I can't live without you. You complete me. You know, I just want to be around you all the time. My life becomes your life. Like we're not our own separate beings. Codependency really is just simply this. If you're good, I'm good. If you're not good, I'm not good. That's it. My emotional state is based on somebody else's emotional state. It's based outside of myself. My sense of self, my sense of worth is based outside of myself, right? Now that could be romantic, that could be children, that could be
Family.
parents. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
Work.
It's hard with
Food,
family.
yeah.
I'll give you my hand, not my life.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
When Jamie, when you said honoring your woman, it was a cold shower for me. I ended up checking myself a little bit, and I wrote a poem for her. And today in the car, I was like, okay, should I post this? Should I give it to her? And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be on Man Enough.
Oh
I
my
wonder if
God.
I should read it.
Oh my
because
Sweating all of a
goodness.
sudden.
well,
1,000%.
1,000.
it's a short. It's not a blog
I
post.
know.
It's just a short poem. It's,
Yeah, please.
And just to lay the tracks, and I said it before to plant the seed. One of the themes of our relationship is she doesn't feel chosen, and I don't feel desired. And so because of that theme, there's been, fights and conflict and all that, drift. And what's interesting is they go hand in hand in that the more chosen she feels, of course, she's going to make me feel more desired. The more desired I feel, the more chosen she's going to feel. But if both of our faucets are off, right, those magnets are going to flip. And so today, after a sweaty workout, I was like, man, when's the last time I wrote Vanessa something? Because my love language is words of affirmation, but I haven't done shit, And we joke, like, if her love language is acts of service. So, like, if I wrote her name in the sky, she'd be like, what'd you pay for that?
It's true.
I
would.
So
I'm like, oh, that's sweet, but that probably costs a lot of money. See? I feel like you and I are the same.
You got to swim past the breakers, Jamie.
You got to swim past them.
Yeah, beauty in the contrast.
Now you do the dishes, and I'm like, oh, take off
So I
your
wrote
pants.
this, and I thought, why don't you show yourself a little bit? So I wrote this, and I thought maybe if I could share it.
Please.
I'm not going to get on.
I'm really hot right now.
I'm not going to get on the knees, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Have you heard it yet?
No, I didn't even know.
I
didn't know this was gonna happen.
First of all, I don't even know if it's just, I don't shouldn't have
Okay,
said
you're
a
building
poem.
it up. You're building it up.
No.
Everything about this is great.
I choose you.
The
fuck? The fuck?
It's part of it. Okay, keep going. Push through.
I'm awkwardly loud. Go. Okay.
That
go.
was it.
Okay, go.
It didn't land. It didn't land for her. See, this is why I don't choose her.
Okay.
She's not making me feel desired.
All right.
She's laughing in my
There
face.
we
Go. Be serious.
I choose you.
Okay.
Daily. Because my choice to choose has been soft, and I tell people to love hard. I choose you because our collision is greater than my ego, than my tight grip on the tug-of-war rope, and of course my erections. I choose you because the world says we have many choices. Because you deserve to be chosen. Because I know that sometimes it's hard for you to choose yourself. I choose you daily.
Oh, come on.
That's an end with a kiss. Good.
That is.
Oh, someone's getting love tonight. What's up? Man.
Is this about me or is this about you,
No,
John?
I know. That was a joke. That was a joke. That's a very sensitive joke because I do have a pattern of tying shit to stuff, and then now it's conditional, right? Now if I now expect her to give me intimacy because I wrote her a poem, that's not gonna make her feel safe or
Well, it ruins
chosen.
the poem,
It
right?
kind of so that was a joke.
No.
I'm not getting anything.
But
tonight.
that's
it was
Maybe help.
I mean, I have so many questions about like, is your not being desired and you're not being chosen? Is that a pattern? Like, is that a deep-seated thing inside your? It's not right.
You know, I think these beliefs that we have, obviously for everybody, it's always deep-seated. It comes from somewhere. It's usually childhood, right? And I just think, for me, I was the oldest. I grew up really fast, young mom, single mom. Worked. I was raising my brother and sister once she had them. I was parentified, as we would say in therapy speak. And, I think a lot of times because my mom was young, I was her kind of emotional caregiver, right? Which we see happen a lot. So I think I was doing a lot of the giving, the meeting of the needs. And again, this isn't to like blame my mom. I mean, she was young and she's doing the best she could. But I didn't often feel like it was about me. It was who I was as a person. Like a lot of this was like, I got chosen, air quotes, the more I was like her, the more I was good in school, the more I was, bringing her some kind of attention, the more I was being good. Right.
So
being grown up.
Yeah. So a lot of that is tied to if I have a complaint or if we get into an argument or if I'm complaining about not feeling desired, she takes that as I'm not good enough.
It immediately goes to I'm not good enough, which I've worked with a lot of clients on, and I've realized this for me too, is there's so many of us, I actually really recently did a video on this, there's so many of us that equate I've done something bad, again, air quotes, I've done something bad with I am bad.
Yeah.
Which
Guilt versus shame, right?
Right, and it leads to so much defensiveness and not being able to actually be accountable and have these kind of deep conversations that are vulnerable and build connection. Because if I'm in my shame, then I'm shut down. I can't hear feedback, right? We just talked about this. And I like dissociate. I'm like not in my body. Yeah. I'm just like not even here. And so what I've realized too is that John and I, yes, this stuff comes from before I ever met him, but I know this is bigger than us only because I know that we come into each other's lives, this is everybody, for reasons. Like, we're mirrors for each other, right? And if I choose to look at John, not because he's purposely pushing that button, but actually rather as the mirror to continue to allow me to understand that part of me deeper and continue to heal it because it keeps coming up, then that is bigger than us. That is bigger than me, right? Rather than, oh, he's just a jerk that keeps pushing that button. No, that's not really what it is. I know him better than that, you know?
I could take that to all the discussion we had before, just for men.
Right.
Like, I've done something bad. It's not that
I am bad.
Not that I am bad.
Right.
We collectively have done some things bad. There's got to be the middle ground where you are able to take accountability, which a lot of us are not willing to take. So then sometimes it needs to be blasted through, kind of like what you're saying, Jamie. But I just want to, like, for guys listening, that there's a higher version of masculinity that they do need. Yeah. That women desperately need.
Yeah.
This is why for men,
you don't want to feel worthless. You don't want to feel never needed.
Right.
No.
We're just at a season where our skill set is not solid at the moment.
Yeah.
No, but this is why for men, the therapy room feels like the principal's office.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So once they're in therapy, they did something bad. They're not enough, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And the not being desired is a thing, you know, I want to touch on something you said, which was like, if you unload the dishwasher, then I'm ready. Or what did you say?
Take off your pants.
I'll like, right? So a lot of, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's literally true, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get turned on. I mean, I really don't. Like, maybe some women do, but like a motorcycle, not to, I think your motorcycle's great.
That's not why I ride, but okay.
But I look at, you know, I've seen online dating profiles, and I see a lot of
A lot
motorcycles.
of fish and motorcycles.
Straight men, yes, a lot of, yes. and I go, oh, okay. And again, this might be a cool thing or be attractive for someone. I'm not like dismissing that, but I think that there's so many things that are actually really hot and really attractive that put women in the mood, and that again, it's not the stuff that you're told by other men and by society, right? It's not quote unquote masculine, but like, yeah, if the apartment is cleaned and you like got me my favorite appetizer and you remember my favorite flower, like you know, and you ask me how my day is, and you're like, are your needs being met? Is there anything like that?
Or
like,
ask you a follow-up question.
Or ask me a follow-up question. I am like, it's easy. You won't have to. I will, you know. And so I think there's that disconnect. I think sex is a, you know, I'm not a sex therapist in any means, but like I think that there's a lot of sex therapists who are talking about this gap that can happen in relationships where a lot of men don't feel desired and they think that there's something like wrong with them, and it's inherent and it's fixed. But some of this is, you know, the P word, the patriarchy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So true.
Well, and also, you know, pornography.
The other P word.
The other P word.
Yes.
The other P word.
The other P word, yeah.
Which is, you know, born out of, I think, you know, there's connections there, right? So yeah, what's your advice actually for, or maybe you can speak to that for you know, couples and sex and that disconnect?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to take the easy way out as a therapist and be like, you guys should be talking about this stuff, you know, but you should. And I say that as somebody who, we have a hard time talking about it. I mean, even us. You know, talking about the patriarchy, I think that's also a season that him and I are in right now. And, you know, he'll half jokingly say, like, I got to be with 2.0 version of you, which is awesome. But the negative or the downfall for him is that if it was the 1.0 version, I was having sex with you because it was what I was supposed to do for the partnership, not necessarily because I wanted to.
I would have gotten more sex.
He would have gotten more sex.
With the
like
1.0
jokingly.
version of Vanessa. I'm joking.
He's totally joking.
No, but I hear the
But there's a
point.
part of
You know what I
me
mean?
that, especially if I'm going through patches of not feeling desire,
Right.
oh, you all woke now, so you could draw boundaries and you're healthy.
Yeah.
But where does that leave me? Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It is selfish, but there is
I
that
know, I
part
love
of
it.
me.
Sure,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about this.
And then
that
where
we've
does that
had-
leave me? Well, in the bathroom with pornography and coconut oil.
Yeah.
Right? Man, I wonder what it would have been like to be with you 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because then you're now, you know, having sex on command and,
Yep.
you know, doing things because you felt like you have to.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, of course, I don't want that.
No, of course.
But this is like a big thing for us right now because I think that, you know, it's, especially as a woman, I have a daughter, I have a 2.5-year-old now. That has totally changed, obviously, how I look at showing up as a woman in this world. And I am like, I'm really in this space of like reclaiming my sexuality because for women, sex is not ours. Our sexuality is not ours, right?
Never
Sex
was.
is in service of everybody but us. Society, men, everybody but us. You know, we don't even get to own our own pleasure.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'm taking that back, you know, and unfortunately for John, I know, right? Sometimes that means that it's
honor.
like no. I mean, right now I'm kind of like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I also, again, to reiterate, have a 2.5-year-old. So for a lot of times, I'm really fucking tired.
I love that you guys, two things. One is that you guys are able to talk about this.
Yeah.
I know.
Together
Not
in
comfortable
a
all the time.
room.
We have to, or we're
and
hypocritical.
Right.
It's
It is
so
hard.
it's so good.
it's
It's so
hard,
sweet
yeah.
to witness that you're comfortable, obviously in your private lives, but publicly to be able
Yeah.
to do it and demonstrate that to others that it's okay to do it.
Oh, wait, is this being recorded?
Yeah, right. Real quick story. My wife left for the weekend. She went on a women's retreat. She was gone 3 days. No me, no kids. She came home. Did my best to hold the fort down.
Yeah.
She came back, and we have a healthy, intimate life.
Yeah.
But when she came home, our intimacy for that night, I'm just trying to be PG,
Did she jump your bones?
was the sweetest, most
Yeah.
incredible
Yeah.
connection we've had in 5 years, or 6 years.
Because she felt safe.
And
Well, because she got time to
And
herself.
exactly.
She got
and
to
it wasn't-
reset.
she
She wasn't
got-
taking care of it. And
Exactly.
you were taking care
and
of
I was
everything.
doing, and that is what
She
made
trusted that you were taking care of
and
it.
that's
Oh my
what was
God.
sexy to her, and that's what
Yes.
made me so desirable. And she couldn't keep her hands off of me
Yes.
in ways when other times I didn't feel desired. You know, when I mean, I have that similar thing. There are certainly that stuff where like, do you even desire me? And now we've got 2 kids back to back, and I think she would relate to a lot of what you were saying. I will say, not that you need this from me, but the 5-year mark is like the you're 2.5. You got another 2.5 years.
Oh, for kids? Yeah.
Yeah. And then like it's like, oh, okay, now, but what I saw, and I don't want to say like I want to send her again because like it's selfish.
Well,
No,
now
but you
have the
can
wrong
hold
reasons.
down the fort when she's there.
Yeah,
you know that,
can
right?
still do that.
Yeah, no, of course. But you see, like, oh, this is
Right.
how it works ultimately. What you were speaking
Yes.
about, you know,
Yeah.
those things are really what.
And it's funny because like I was like almost all women objectified and turned into a sexual being before I was a sexual being when I was still a child. But it's really like gross. Our society is pretty fucked when it comes to that.
It's true.
And so but actually when I feel the most respected
Yes.
by a man is when I can be fully sexually
100%.
evolved in ways that actually like I didn't even know I had, and my sex drive will be exponentially higher
Yes.
when I feel super like revered and respected and
Right.
honored.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't go right, one doesn't take away from the other, right? People will think, well, asking for consent and like all of this stuff is not sexy, but no, it's like being equal and being respectful of women. It's a turn on.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
turn on.
And I'll say, so one of my girlfriends, she's my podcast co-host, my best friend. She's like obsessed. She's actually writing a book right now about masculine and feminine dynamics, right, and how it plays. Because she's also a therapist, so she works with couples through this lens of kind of balancing the masculine and feminine in both people, right, and how important that is. And she would say, right, that masculine energy. Obviously, we both have both. Right? And if we're talking heteronormatively here, the masculine shows up as containing, as safe, as respectful, as protective, as the equalizer. I've got this, stable, right? When the masculine is healthy, the feminine is allowed because it feels safe enough to be fully embodied.
I love that.
When that masculine is actually
Yes.
more in what we would say the wounded masculine, which is what patriarchy is, grabbing, controlling,
Iron fist.
demeaning, iron fist, me, right? The feminine swings into
Exactly.
the unhealthy feminine, which tends to be martyr, victim, needy, vindictive, finger pointy, frigid, all these terms. And so we're kind of talking to each other from these spaces of like wounded masculine and wounded feminine, and then not understanding why no one's getting laid.
Yeah.
To kind of joke about it. But it's like, if we're actually able to say, no, as a man, we'll just say that, as a man, if I can really dip into what this healthy masculine is, my woman, again, heteronormative, my woman is going to feel free to step into that healthy feminine.
Fully feminine.
And our sex is going to be like you guys had that night, which is going to be connected and amazing and alive because she felt held and contained and safe, and you got this. That's all we need. We want to know that somebody else has got this so that we don't have to be running around in our hyper-masculine state doing, controlling. I got this, all the mental load. Are the kids safe? What's going on? That's very masculine. We don't feel sexual when we're running around in our masculine headspace. There's nothing sexy about that for us. If you can take that shit from us, the freedom and the space that gives us is amazing. Yeah,
that's foreplay, baby.
So I'm just sliding. I feel like I'm about a soapbox here.
No, that is so true.
Yeah.
So well said.
And it's like, it just is what this podcast is all about. People getting laid. No, it's really,
Wow.
it's about
Cars getting keyed.
Sorry, Justin,
So
you weren't here.
Jamie
We changed the podcast.
No, I love it. Rapid fire. Something that you love about him.
Something I love about him.
Rapid fire.
I love how he's a mad scientist. He's like always thinking out of the box.
Something that.
By the way, she's wine glass, I'm shot glass. So rapid fire for her might be a few sentences.
Yeah, that's all right. That was rapid fire.
That was rapid fire.
That's good.
Something that
Sex.
is a struggle for you about him.
That he's a mad scientist and that he doesn't read directions and go. Like, I love it, and it makes me insane at the same time.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I ask one? The most useful tip you can give about being in a relationship.
Ooh, that's a good one.
God, that's so hard. The most useful tip.
The most practical.
The most practical. Going back to what you said about, I don't know exactly how you said it, but it's this idea of like the yes and. It's this idea of not holding absolute truths. Continually asking like, what else could be true? Right? I mean, I think that that's in relationships, but also just in life. Like, as a therapist, I would say that's one of the biggest kind of indications of emotional IQ is actually to be able to say like two opposing truths can be true at the same time.
You couldn't pull from something from the book, huh?
Oh, sorry. I think
All
I
the
wrote
things
that.
in the book. And
I think I wrote that.
Okay.
No, I really do believe that. I think this
love
idea
that.
of like what else could be true could help all of us in all of our relationships.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That is deep. Applies to everything.
That really is. If you can honestly embrace that, what else could be true?
Yeah.
It allows for you to be less committed to whatever you thought.
Well, it turns the dial from judgment to curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good.
Can you tell us something that you love about her?
Fuck.
Rapid fire.
Her story. I love her story. I love who she was, what she went through, and who she is now, and how she's evolving. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you something that's a struggle about her. We're going to leave it at that.
Leave it at that. He's more likely to get some tonight if you leave it at that.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I just want to be held.
Just want to be held.
Okay, how do you know you've met not the one, but a right person?
Like someone that you want to actually.
Yes, that you can. How do you know you should be investing, or not should, could?
Yeah.
And
you know, for me, I think the misconception is that is a constant. It comes in moments. You know, the moment when she texts you something and it proves that she was listening. The moment when you're doing nothing with your partner and realize this is what I want to do. You know, the moment you see someone treat your child a certain way, or you come home and the car's washed. I think it comes in the moments. You know, it's like the gold is sprinkled throughout the rainbow, not and the pot at the end, right? And I think we're all chasing this giant pot, and it's in the day-to-day. It's in the moments when someone buys you a donut, or holds your leg, or says something, or reads you a poem on a very popular podcast. And in these moments,
That's great.
you collect the coins, you know, and you're like, fuck, this is I'm at the right place and we're meant to be, you know.
Yeah.
Justin, did I call you Justin?
You did.
so
I've done it! You've done it! Oh my God! Yes!
You got into subconscious.
Can we end our episodes with two things?
Yes.
I know you have a song. I think we're talking about stuff that is sweet and emotional.
I can play a song.
Can you play a song for us?
Do we have the guitar here?
I'll get it.
This fits. This was written during therapy.
Hold on, Andy. Look, you magically got a guitar.
Hey!
Hey! I think it's appropriate because you write songs that are about the heart and joy and growth and things of that nature. And now that we've had you on, thank you so much. And we'll close out properly, of course, saying goodbye to you and thanking you. But maybe we can have something from you that
So this is
inspires
an
our hearts.
unreleased song that I wrote during therapy and is very much what you guys are all about. And the only thing that I'll say too is like you ask, like me and my wife always say, who would you want to start an emotional business with? I like that. Someone that would like show up and do work with you on something, but beautiful and sweet and incredible.
Yeah.
But you can count on.
Oh, wow.
And, you know. Okay, this is called Humanity. All right. I don't think I'm ugly, but I don't think I'm fine. I am against the use of Photoshop, except on my under eyes. My hair is graying here on the sides, and I have not dyed it yet, but it's definitely crossed my mind. I wanna be the kind of brave and courageous soul who could not care less what you think of me at all. But I know I'm not, no, I know I'm not. That truth is I'm not even close. I'm insecure like everyone else I know. But would you still love me if I let it go and showed you my humanity? Would you still want me if I didn't try to hide all my humanity and let it show? Ooh. And I got an ego that I'm working through. For a while I thought I didn't, but it turns out that I do. And I got addictions, I tried to fix them myself. Could have sworn I was invincible, turns out I need some help. Yo, I wanna be the kind of brave and courageous soul who could not care less what you think of me at all. But I know I'm not, no, I know I'm not. That truth is I'm not even close. I'm insecure like everyone else I know. But would you still love me if I let it go and showed you my humanity? Would you still want me if I didn't try to hide all my humanity and let it show? Ooh, if I let it show.
Goodness. You're good.
Damn. That's beautiful.
I mean,
On brand?
Justin can't do that. Justin Baldona, you can't do that. Dude.
It has been lovely to see you.
So
basically, you know, we all need this book and this idea of actually sharing yourselves is like such a sweet idea. Thank you from all of us for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
I think part of the fear of getting into therapy is like what it'll look like, what it'll feel like, what's it going to be. And so to watch you both just be so open and share and be silly, but then like totally serious, a little bit pissed. And like, it's a real gift to everyone. So thank you for this.
Yeah,
it's been really sweet.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for showing all the parts too. I think it's so refreshing. How just the honesty, and I think anyone would be like, oh my God, two therapists, they write a book together. Their life must like I will never be able to achieve that. And I think so much of again, just being in a successful relationship is understanding that there is no perfect relationship.
Right.
So I thank you for modeling that.
Model it so
much.
well. As we close out, I would like to ask you both a question.
Yes.
What does it mean for you to be man enough?
Oh.
What does it mean to be man enough?
I feel like you should answer that one first.
I think that our stories is the most valuable thing we'll ever own. And so I think man enough means to accept your story. There's a tipping point where you not only accept, but you embrace and then you share. And when you start to share, your story becomes bigger than you. And so I think that man enough to me is not about what you can do, but if you share your story, and that is whether it's your song or who you are, your jokes or whatever, there's that tipping point. And when you get to that tipping point, and then you no longer make it about you, you become a catalyst. You become from a stone to a prism, and I think that to me is very manly. Or man enough.
Dope.
Yeah, getting out of your own way.
Thank you. How about for you? What does it mean to be man enough?
Oh man, that's such a big question. I mean, what's coming up, I guess, is for some reason the phrase, because I was trying not to think while you were talking, I was trying to like be present with your answer, and the phrase that's coming up almost without thinking about it is "do it anyway." And
Liz loves that.
what I'm
Sorry. Yeah,
You love
I
that.
hum loudly.
Yeah, I
decided.
Are you a therapist? It's the therapist hum. You'll notice, John. We do that a lot.
Do it anyway.
I think what my kind of unconscious is bringing up, or what my psyche is trying to communicate, is really this idea of be scared and do it anyway. Don't know the answer and do it anyway. Don't know what's on the other side and do it anyway. Potentially look stupid, do it anyway, right? Like it's this do it anyway. That for me, I think, is coming up around being man enough.
I really love that.
I love that.
That's good.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Another
Oh,
great
man.
tattoo.
Well, let us tell you on behalf of Justin, who's not here, myself, Andy, and Liz, I think we all know that you are both enough.
Oh, thank you.
And represent your own brand, our brand, I think the world's brand, really incredibly well.
And you were chosen and desired.
Chosen and desired.
Yes, we're going
both.
to add that to our...
That's right.
Yeah.
We desired you to be on the show.
Yep.
And we chose
And
you.
we chose you. Look at that. All right. Let's close this out. Liz, you want to... Hey, you want to see if Andy knows how to close us out? Let's see, Andy.
Oh my God, I'm an old friend at this point.
All right, let's see it.
So, thank you for listening to Man Enough. We've had incredible guests, and you can catch all of our stuff where I look like someone named Justin Baldoni at manenough.com/podcast.
Wow. He knocked it out of the park. You can find us on Spotify and Apple and all those places,
Wherever you
Instagram,
listen
all
to
those
podcasts.
things. Come follow us, subscribe if you like what you heard. And we'll be back next week with another episode. And we hope you enjoyed this amazing conversation with the angry therapist.
Not so much anymore.
You're also known as
Recovering
that,
angry.
but clearly not. John and Vanessa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having
all
us.
for having us.
And we'll see you next time. I'm Jamie Heath.
I'm Liz Plank.
I'm Andy Grammer.
And this is
Man Enough.
Man Enough.
That was good. That was good.